Hello, guys, and welcome to episode number 37 of the Heritage Agendas Football Podcast. As always, myself, Ibrahim with Abdi. How we doing, bro?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good to be back. Good to be back. Uh, not
Good to be back. You're the world's hardest man to reach, man.
I know, man.
How are you doing? How's everything going?
I'm good, bro. Not too bad. Just been chilling. Good football this season overall. Kind
Absolutely.
of up and down.
Up and down for most teams, but like in terms of trophies and stuff like that, it's a little bit way harder to predict.
That's true.
Uh, a lot of the even in the Champions League, I would say there's no clear favorites, even though Liverpool look a little bit better than everybody in the league and in Europe, but the jury's still out.
How do you feel about the format? You like it? Like now that we're kind of getting into the deep into it? Pause.
I'm actually I really like it in terms of competitiveness. You're seeing a lot of matchups that you ordinarily wouldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking at the top of the table, and there's four or five teams that you wouldn't expect that would probably be in a pot somewhere with two big teams, and that's how they just either end up in third place or fourth place that have the opportunity to play a wide array of teams rather than somebody from pot one and pot two and pot three like that, which they're still doing it, but it's a little bit broader with much more teams. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean it's not too bad. I think the excitement there'll be a lot of like more important games on the last day, especially like the teams vying for the direct qualification versus that playoff like round of 32. But
Hmm.
there's some good teams that are going to play in that round of 32. Like just looking at it now, like Bayern, Atletico, Dortmund, Real Madrid, Man City, PSG. Um, actually, PSG
And
are sitting one
are
point
at the
out.
last. Yep. And if any of those teams match up together, that's one of the heavyweight. Imagine City or Bayern or even Real Madrid going head to head. That would be unbelievable. But more games. There's not that long break in the winter that we're used to seeing
Yep.
in the old format. Now everybody's playing through. I was looking at the January, we're playing again, and then the following week, and then the elimination rounds start right away.
Yep.
Um, at the end of the day, I always feel sorry for the athletes, but in terms of competitiveness, I think the format's doing what it was intended to do.
Yeah. No, exactly. UEFA loves their games, so more games is good for them, right?
More, more games is always more money. So that's the two extra games are clearly going to mean something now, with just how like tight everybody is in especially from that 9 to 24 spot, from the bottom to all the way top. It's like I believe 6 points is separated, which is two games right there, and that's what's
Yep.
left.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just looking at it right now, Arsenal 13 points are third, and then Bayern in 10th is 12 points. So literally, you lose a game and
Exactly.
you go from being near top of automatic qualification to basically being middle of the pack, which is nuts.
And I feel for it because I think Real Madrid and Man City both have the opportunity to jump all the way up to the automatic qualifications, but with how their seasons are going, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, we can let's kick it off there. Like that we're on the top of those two clubs.
Yeah.
Like the last time we recorded, maybe the second to last time was funny because you were like, I don't usually say this about clubs, but I hate Man City, and that was
Yes.
like right as everything was happening. And since then, I just want to read off their last couple of matches,
Oh, please.
starting. So they started with a 2-1 loss to Tottenham in the EFL
Mhm.
Cup, then a 2-1 loss to Bournemouth, a 4-1 loss to Sporting where Gyökeres had a hat trick, 2-1 to Brighton, 4-0 home to Tottenham in the league, then a 3-0 to 3-3 against Feyenoord, a 2-0 loss at Anfield, a 3-0 win at home with Forest, and then this weekend a tie to Crystal Palace, and then a loss in the Champions League to Juve. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think of like one win for City in 10 games, but kind of walk me through like what you feel like the reasoning is for the collapse, like what's your overall thoughts on it? It's kind of liked.
Um, I think I what I think Rodri being gone is speaking volumes. But also I from the last 2, 3 years, their recruiting has not been up to par with what the team is aging and the people that they've purchased are not contributing. Doku, Nunez, those people are now being expected to be heavy price tag players, and they just have never lived up to those expectations, and that's kind of catching up with them. And then the other part is just is it's a lot of games. They don't have their best player. Holland, there's no creative outlet for him. De Bruyne is more of a squad player now, it seems like, rather than the star player he was for the last 2, 3 years. So in terms of their system, obviously they came out the to open the season on fire. Holland had what 15 goals in like 9 games or something like that, and now it's kind of dried off. I think teams are a little bit more settled and seeing that they is very hard for them to score. And when they do score, it like I was watching the Crystal Palace game, and what's his name? Rico, the
Rico
youngster.
Lewis.
Rico Lewis scored their equalizer, and I think it was like in the 60th or 70th minute. And I was like, okay, they can get us, they can win this game when they equalized, and there was no other chances. And then Rico Lewis got a red card, and then that was it right there. But it's just, they're just not. They usually we always say City have two teams. They have a first team, and then they have a second team that's just as good as the first team. Right now, it's they barely have a first team. And their squad depth. You have Jack Grealish, who hasn't scored in 40 plus games. Stuff like that is finally catching up to them. And whatever magic Pep used to work, I don't think it's working right now. And I think a full rebuild is what it looks like. That needs to happen in terms of their midfield and their attacking players. I think defensively they're fine, but in front of that is just they look like they're cooked.
How much do you like? How much do you feel like this like feeds into the idea that people talk about that Pep is the type of manager that if everything isn't clicking around, that he's incapable of competing with the likes of the other managers that we hold in that conversation, like Mourinho or Sir Alex or Carlo or the rest.
I think for as a legendary career as Pep has, that's always been something that's been knocked. Where the billion-dollar squad, the teams that he just basically gets whatever player he wants. If he doesn't like that player, he gets to replace him with an even more expensive player. He's never. I think he's done it at City maybe a few times where he's had to adjust, maybe change the entire system, and it worked because he has 6 titles. But right now, I think missing somebody as valuable as Rodri and De Bruyne kind of falling off, and Doku and Nunez and Grealish not though that's 300 million pounds right there that hasn't haven't amounted to anything is I think a little too much to overcome, which kind of says you spent all that money and now it's nothing. What are you gonna do? And he hasn't really responded well. And just from seeing quotes and stuff like that, I think Pep is officially unhinged. Some of his quotes are a little bit bizarre.
Did you
And
see the one where
I
he
think
like
it's
scratched
getting
his
to his,
face?
yeah, and he's physically harming himself just out of frustration with his team. I think the outside noises finally is getting to him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I feel like everyone's kind of said exactly what you were saying, that unless there's like an established core and people are performing, and like you said, like for like a good example is like his first season at City, he comes in and he didn't like the quality of his fullbacks and he just sold them and bought four new ones in the summer. Um, I don't know how much of it is a recruitment thing, or how much of it is just that they're just starting to have attrition in their squad. Like some of these players that have year in year out given them such great performances are just not performing to the level that they were in the past anymore. Like Kyle Walker is a good example. Ilkay
Yep.
Gundogan,
Hmm.
um, And I feel like City in the past have always had that, like, two squads that can compete for top four. So it's like one guy gets injured, in steps the next. Haaland needs to miss 8 games. Well, we have Julian Alvarez on the
Alvarez.
bench, for
Yeah.
example. And I mean their backups have been poached. I mean, and a lot of them play for really good clubs. I mean, you can look at like just Arsenal, for example, have Zinchenko, have Gabriel Jesus. Atletico Madrid obviously have Alvarez. And I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of years it's been more players have been going out more than going in. Obviously, like from their old guard, like Mahrez left last season, I believe, or maybe even
Mhm.
the year before. And the signings that they've brought in, where I feel like they went on this like 6 7 year run of just every big money move was a
Yep.
hit. And now Savinho has been good to his credit, but Grealish, I think we can say, has been a flop, all things considered,
Absolutely.
based on the price tag. Um, they missed out on Bellingham. That would have been huge for them, obviously. So I think we're just starting to see a combination of things, and it's funny because I thought that this would be what would happen last year, where
Hmm.
it's like they win every single trophy. For example, the league is what they're going on. They did 5 or 4 in a row,
Four in a row.
4 in a row, and this would be five.
Hmm.
I feel like at some point it's hard for, like, I can draw in a parallel. Like Kansas City in football is like people are saying they're narrowly winning their games because it's kind of hard to give importance to like a regular Sunday game against Bournemouth when you've won 4 Premier Leagues in a row, you've won a European Championship, you've won FA Cups. So being able to bring out desire and hunger in players that have basically won everything they have to win at a club level is difficult, and I think that obviously gets even harder over time,
Yeah.
as they win more and more. So I mean, obviously, no, I thought that they would win the league. I would be shocked if they did at this point. I think that they need a major overhaul in January in terms of some positions in the squad. The problem is with, everything now over their head and so much scrutiny because of the charges with the financial fair play. I don't really know how much noise they can make in the January window, but obviously they still have a tremendous amount of talent and a great coach. So
Yes, I think that also is a big factor is the stagnation of just winning everything that you've set out to accomplish. I think the motivation of Pep just using that you guys are the best team in the world, but you guys still have not won Champions League or nobody has ever done 4 in a row. I think once you accomplish that, and then you have players that haven't really been there for the full ride, but kind of just are benefiting just from the success of the team. It's really hard to galvanize grown men to get up for something they've won 4 in a row for, you know?
yes,
Um, and in terms of Pep and the allegations and stuff like that, I think that gets to you. Is everybody's calling you a cheater? Mourinho and you are going back and forth over the media over blatantly just calling him a cheater and saying that he wouldn't be able to do this with all the money and stuff like that. I think that's very um, for somebody as accomplished as Pep, for those doubts to still exist is a little that would get to anybody. I feel like
yeah.
it's very tough.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like exactly like you said, the Mourinho stuff was hilarious because I feel like we
Yeah.
haven't seen that level of stuff since like 2012 when
No, it
like
was unbelievable.
before the semifinal when Mourinho was like he won a Champions League I would be ashamed to win, and then
Yes.
and then that was like peak of, and Pep has never really been that type of coach where he's playing games in the media, he's playing games with the opponent. I feel like he's a very standards based coach, and there was like a clip going around on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, of like City breaking a press against Arsenal, and then Sane scores the tap in at the end of the move. It was a couple years ago, it was to make it, but like the level of quality versus now, I feel like is so it's just so apparent, and maybe you're like maybe I'm reading into things too much, but I feel like Pep's style of possession and move and the like has been so successful that
Hmm.
obviously other teams now are trying to adjust. I mean, just in England alone, like how many teams now press or like to play out from the back? I mean,
Yeah.
Pep's style of football, um, in a way, or at least partially, has genuinely killed the ability for goalkeepers to just not be able to play with their feet anymore. Like we just see more and more like ridiculous price tags for keepers just because they know how to pass or they can do
Yeah.
things like this. So how much of it is City's squad falling off and attrition and fatigue over time, and that combined with, well, now so many teams play like City, or at least try to,
Mhm.
that they're better at pressing them. They know how to press them, to get the ball quicker. City's press isn't as effective. And obviously, the Premier League, the level keeps continuing to rise more and more. And I mean, now how many different disciples do we see that have come from this like Pep tree? Obviously, the main one was Arteta, and I think
Yeah.
Maresca comes from
Yep.
the same, and and obviously more and more good coaches keep coming to the Premier League. So I think it's like when you combine all of these together, um, I think we thought in the next couple of years there had to be some kind of temporary drop off, but I mean this is like, I think more than anyone could
Yeah.
expect. One win in 10 matches is like relegation form. So
And I think like in terms of everyone catching up to them, like what they used to do when you speak of Sane and Sterling and all the Mahrez and all those guys, those are extremely talented wingers that can make a difference. Right now, they're playing Nunez, Doku, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish on the wing, the players that are literally just stagnant and pass the ball backwards type of players that are not. I think if Haaland wasn't on this team, I think this would have happened a lot quicker. It happening now is just the culmination of all of those things happening at once or over time. Haaland kind of bought them a small window of two. They got them a Champions League. They did the four in a row, two with him. And now it's like even Haaland can't make that big of a difference that it's not inevitable. And right now, with the squad they have, with the players they have, it kind of just it looks bleak. I was watching them against Crystal Palace and it was bad. De Bruyne was huffing and puffing. De Bruyne looks so big. Like he
he's
just
like 33, man.
I know, and it's like the old Bill Belichick quote of, leave a year early rather than leaving
A
a
year
year
too
too.
late. Yes.
And right now, I feel like some of their players are in that year too late, where
Especially Kyle Walker, man. Like he
Kyle
looks
Walker looks finito,
awful.
UK Gundogan looks finito, De Bruyne looks cooked. A lot of that stuff is they're being relied on so heavily that it is so abundantly clear that they are not 38 game players. They are still elite at the,
On their
they can
day.
be
Yes.
day, absolutely. But what you're asking of them being in the lineup day in, day out, especially with these fixtures, it's very tough. And these are all 30 plus. Kyle Walker is he's not as fast anymore, and now his flaw is that cut was covered by all that
That
speed.
pace.
Yeah,
Yep.
is kind of just out there.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I mean, just looking in like to their next couple games, um, let's pull that up here. So, I mean, the 2-0 loss to Juve on midweek, and
Hmm.
then this weekend they play the derby against Manchester United. So
Oof.
that's and are in ball, bro. So we get to watch it in full display, which I believe they won. I believe they won
Did
today,
yeah.
two
Today, yeah.
one with Hoyland scoring twice. Um, we can briefly talk about that a little because we haven't really talked about United in the past couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Obviously, we both had our stuff about Ten Hag. What do you
Ten Hag escaped us.
I know, man. There's no more free talking points. Like I can't just throw it in and we talk about it 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
kind of, what are your thoughts about the Ten Hag situation and Anorim as a replacement, and what are you kind of looking for them? Obviously, it's been a horrendous start to the season. He comes in at the 13th right now, so
Yeah. I think they're finally Ten Hag leaving was the most like predictable thing ever, him
hmm
being sacked,
yes,
just because I think he lost that locker room a year ago.
Yep.
The football on the pitch was not up to par. The transfers were not up to par. A lot of just his. My biggest problem with Ten Hag was just what came out of his mouth. Everything was wrong on the pitch, but then he would come out and just be so what's the word? Like he would just be like basically a crazy man talking. Like we can't see what is happening on the pitch. Um, so him going was the right move. And then hiring Almiron is the jury's still out, obviously, but he's somebody that has proved with the way Sporting Lisbon is looking, with him, even without him. He's I like the way he plays. I'm not really sold on with the three at the back, especially with this roster. But he's a young manager. He's very charismatic. He's very I think the players will love him. From what I've seen, obviously Arsenal played against them last week or two maybe 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. And we clearly looked like the better team. It wasn't even close, particularly in the second half. But I think I think that game Rashford didn't start, Hoyland didn't start. So he's very I saw a quote that said Ahmad and Hoyland were fighting and he said something like that shows courage, that's good for the
Yeah.
team. And stuff like that is what you like to see from a coach. Kind of being approving of that kind of stuff for players to show personality, where Ten Hag was a little bit of a dictator, I would say, and
Yes.
kind of against all of that stuff. So in terms of a Man U as a brand, I think Almiron fits much easier than Ten Hag. What on the pitch comes from it is to be seen, but I think it's a step in the right. This season was already gone. Almiron was not going to salvage this, but Man United is a club with a lot of money, so he will have the funds. He will bring in the players. Whether they work out or not, I don't think the drama that surrounded Ten Hag, the decisions he made on the pitch, will be like that with Amra. I think he's much more professional and he's much more kind of aware of what's happening. He knows exactly where he is. Whereas Ten Hag, I think the club was a little too big for him, and he was kind of he wasn't ready for it. The lights were too bright.
No, I completely agree. I think the big thing with Ten Hag was like the accountability, and I think like even this season in the past, like there's always been a big question about recruitment, and this season we saw like in the summer, which already was a big red flag. The new
Yep.
ownership comes in, the new football strategy says, okay, basically we determine the signings, so you don't trust him to determine the signings, and then you fired his entire staff. So and then they brought in Van Nistelrooy and the likes. Um, so from the get go, and I forgot which pundit it was. It might have been Rio Ferdinand or it might have been one of them, but he was like, before they sacked, it was Jimmy Carragher, excuse me.
Mhm.
Before they sacked Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool the summer before, they fired his staff and they brought in new staff. But the root cause of the problem again is the coach. So
Yes.
I mean, we don't know if they didn't fire Ten Hag due to the lack of options this summer on the market. Obviously, we saw how much Bayern struggled to bring in a coach versus
Mhm.
something else. Versus maybe they did think that the issue was from the administrative staff. But like I said, I mean, even this summer there was a lot of conversation we had about recruitment. And this summer, to be fair, the plan looked great. I liked a lot of their signings. You did as well. We both had them in our top
Yeah.
four, I believe. So now the problem just comes down to just being able to get performances. And I feel like United, we just have this consistent problem where um, no matter who they bring in, whether it's, I mean, the names are as high as, Van Gaal, Mourinho, David Moyes, who's had success at other places, um, Ten Hag, and Ole, yes, exactly. Where there's just always a problem where the players, there's like I don't know if it's a mentality thing or it's an effort thing, and I mean I just keep thinking back to what Mourinho was saying after his first season with United, where he's like, I knew after 6 months that there were people in that club that I can't win with, and they're still there. And
Yeah.
I think that
All these
says,
years later. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and that tells you a lot. So I think that there's just a fundamental issue with some people that they have in their club, from a mentality perspective, and I think that that just because I mean some of the names are huge, and you see this with these types of clubs, and not to loop United in obviously, but like we saw this at like Tottenham where like Antonio Conte was talking about like every coach who comes here runs into the same type of problems, and every single time they run into these problems the media is so quick to be like, well, it's the coach, and not to
Yeah.
shell blame away from Ten Hag, because I think that from a tactical perspective, from the way he manages some specific stuff, there's a lot to go around there, but I do think with how many different coaches we've seen and seemingly the same type of first season, they tend to do well and they win a trophy or something. And then the second season, there's just like this ultimate collapse, and all of a sudden they can't string together results. And every week it just looks like there's no effort and there's no desire. Um, I think just the combination of all these things with so many coaches with like such high caliber of names since Sir Alex, where it's
Hmm.
time to look introspectively at the players and say, okay, well, like what is going on, or who is in the dressing room that's, pushing these people to go this way? Because I mean, from a recruitment perspective, United have tried like so many
Everything.
different strategies. They bought, big physical players under Van Gaal, then they bought superstars under Mourinho, then they bought youth under Ole, and now under Ten Hag, they bought players that are familiar with the coach. So like I look at that and I think, okay, the vision thing we can talk about because I think they're doing a better job. But the underlying
Yeah.
thing that has always stayed the same with United is the fact that it's the players. So um, I think this summer is a really, really big summer to see for Anarim if they just let him sell the players that he wants to sell and buy the players that he wants to buy. And I think the first one is like honestly 10 times more important than the second one, because obviously we don't know what's going on in that dressing room, but I definitely think that there's some players in there that either it's a desire thing or something. Um, but yeah, I think that is
The
the biggest issue.
the one thing Amaran has going for him is he's coming into this with new ownership. None of
Yes.
those so right now he can walk into this and identify things that I think the ownership would clearly agree with and say this player, and I think we know who we're talking about. It's Marcus Rashford, where six managers have been able to get nothing out of him. And then the
Yep.
1 year he popped off was a contract year, and then the
Yep.
following last year, which is arguably his worst season ever. And this year he's basically more of the same. And
Yep.
he's on such high wages. And then you have Maguire, you have Lindelof. I was watching their highlights. I couldn't believe I heard Lindelof's name on
Yep.
a plane for them. So the I hear you when it comes to that, but I think this is probably the most like you can look forward to, I would say, because of just a new guy comes in with new ownership, with new strategies. And I don't think overall, if from what we've seen and read, as a whole, Man United is not being run the same. They're cutting costs, they're being so cheap, they're doing things a little bit differently, where now I think where they were so huge that a lot of stuff they just overlooked because of it will come back. They're Man United. If they bought a player for 70 million, they will have access to 90 million the next summer. That's not a
Yep.
problem. Right now, I think they're a tight ship. So Amaran missing on a transfer means a lot more than Ten Hag being able to buy Casemiro, and then that is like nothing, and then he can
Yep.
spend 70 on Mason Mount the next summer. So stuff like that is, I think that will help. You have to, recruiting matters. And I really hope you look at this roster and you just cut your losses. I remember when Arsenal were they got rid of Ozil, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, Kolasinac, all those players that were Mustafi, all those players that were on 3 4 year deals, that they were like, hey, these players are at the age where they're not good enough right now. They're not going to be better in 3 4 years. Let's just cut our losses, give them whatever money they want to leave. I think they need to look at that and completely reset. They have enough youngsters. They have enough. players to build with, where you can just add a few pieces that you need as cornerstones and go forward with that, rather than trying to change a player that you know exactly what he'll give you from what you've seen for the last 7 years. Maguire, for example, Rashford, for example, Luke Shaw. Like, there is Lindelof. There's so many players on that team that don't belong there, that do not even belong at a top six club. Man United is not, they haven't been a top six club for the last 2, 3 years,
No,
but
they
a,
haven't.
a club of that stature, they have no business being on a football pitch for Man United.
Yeah, and to build on what you said, like for example, this is something that like I'm happy to say I was loud and wrong like about where like Barcelona let Gundogan go this summer for free to City, and we were
Yes.
like, okay, well, what are they doing? They basically
Why are
kept
they?
him for
Yep.
the year. I mean, if Gundogan had these types of performances for Barca, he would basically be unsellable this summer. And like you said, better to be a year too early than a year too late. And I feel like Mourinho encapsulated it best when he was like, just look at the types of players that Man United buy and look at where they go after Manchester United and the types of roles they have at those clubs.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just something that we like that just continues where Casemiro, for example, I don't really anticipate that he's a great player, but after United, I don't think he's gonna be having
Anywhere
prominent
else?
European football exactly. Um, how many chances have they had to sell Marcus Rashford for like 100? I think it was like 180 million. PSG
PSG.
won it, yeah,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. Um, and now he's
And they
there.
laughed at it. They laughed at
Yeah,
it.
and he's there for 5 years now, 4 more years at 300K or maybe more a week.
More than that. Yeah. 400 he's at.
Um, Obviously, like we could talk about all day about recruitment, but like Luke Shaw is still there. Um, how many
Who's still
players?
not playing, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
still.
How many players do you look at United and like we can go down the list and be like, okay, say Anorim was playing, glorified football manager and he could basically, have a pick at his squad and say, I need these players in my team and the rest can go. How many from the 23 or 25 actually stay?
I think if he could just do it in with a magic wand, I would say it would be less than 10. Um I could list them off, but I think it would be less than 10 from less than 10. And
Like we can go
I
through
think
them.
those 10, yeah, those 10 would be anybody under 23 or younger. Anybody
Really?
else above that,
Onana doesn't stay for you?
who?
Onana?
Onana's actually been really good the last 2 years. Onana's in there. I would say
Delict.
Delete, who's
Okay.
23, would
Lisandro?
be there. Lisandro Martinez would be there, even though he's a knucklehead, but he's a
Dalot?
great player. Dallo, no.
Okay. Ahmad? Yes, I think.
Ahmad, yes, but he's never been given the opportunity to.
You know who's been
Ahmad
quiet?
has,
This Mainu has
yeah,
been quiet.
yes. Mainu is too much too soon, but you have to keep him just in terms of just what he's
Of
done over the
course.
last year. But I think it would be 10 or less.
Yeah.
But and I don't think that's a bad place to be. I just think you just have to get there and then move forward. If you do not identify who you want to move forward with, you cannot you Marcus Rashford will always be there. Harry Maguire he's been begged to leave for the last 3 summers and he simply says no.
I
And
mean,
that is
he's getting paid
acceptable.
200K and he gets week in, week out
Exactly.
time for United. So I like you cannot blame him to be fair.
Absolutely not. But you have to get rid of him because you cannot have somebody like that who's just staying for the sake of this is where I'll be paid the most. Like that is not good for locker room dynamics, not good for your youngsters, not good for anybody. Not even good for the coaches. They just look at you in disgust, you know? That's not
Yeah.
somebody you want to move forward with and go to war with. I think Amaran just needs to identify that. Obviously, it's a process. It will take a year, 2 years to get rid of all these players, but you have to start that plan now. And I think this is a wasted season. This season is gone. Just use the next 5 months to say, okay, this is what I want to
As
do
it
moving forward.
yeah.
Start your project. And I think he will because he's somebody that has built something from the ground up and has gotten to the heights that he has. So I like obviously we said the same thing about Ten Hag in terms of just what Ten Hag did at Ajax, but we didn't know how much of a dickhead Ten Hag was.
Do you have faith in the board of United to give Amorim not only the tools from a financial perspective, but the trust to overhaul the squad in the way he wants based on like their track record in the past?
I think I think I would say this board is different because of just new ownership. I
Yeah.
think you have to approach it that way. Obviously, I he could start the season next year terrible and they could sack him. It would not be a thing to Man United. But you have to like give this guy 3, 4 seasons. And you did that with Ten Hag, and that look where that got you, you know? Like you have to at least try something where like just where the entire club is on one vision rather than I remember not even last summer, but the summer before that, first 4 months, we did not know if Ten Hag was going to be coaching Man United or not. Like you
Mm-hmm.
cannot have summers like that where things are so much in the air. There's no club unity. Everybody's former players are like, this guy has to go. This guy has to be given time. And then obviously the Ronaldo incident, all the players and all that stuff is just the shine of Man United has kind of suffered a little bit since
Yes.
Sir Alex, and I think they in terms of prestige, I don't think they're at where they were 10 years ago. Even you can see by their recruitment, all that. Obviously, they can throw money at anybody, but just the quality of players that they're getting compared to Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, even Tottenham, like it's just like it's crazy. It's not even the same. They're like Mason Mount should not be a player you pay 60 million for. Like that is like I don't know where they got that idea from, but we slandered that at the time, and it just looks just as terrible now. He was playing against Arsenal, and I promise you, I had no idea he was on the pitch for 80 minutes. I was like, "Where's Mason Mount?" And he wasn't there. He was just somewhere on the ground. He's just not. They have so many of those players that you just don't notice. They're not difference makers.
No, I completely agree. Um, and then yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think
Do you
I
think do you think Imran is a good coach from his previous stops?
I do. But I
Okay.
feel like we've said that about a lot of coaches with United in the
Yes.
past, and not to take away from Ten Hag, because personally I don't think he's a good like he's a great coach. And I agree with you when I say kind of that the shoes were a little too big to fill with United. But like I said, 8 coaches or 7 coaches since Sir Alex, and all of them and some of them have been the highest of the names. I mean, it really doesn't get higher than Jose and Louis van Gaal. And
Especially at that time that they got them.
yes,
The
and
most sought after coaches in when they were on the market.
yeah,
So
and all of them have, we can, move the needle and say if they failed or not, but to a level, they have not been that successful. I think Jose has been the most successful one, and even to his standards, a Europa League, an FA Cup,
mhm.
and a Community Shield, and the other cup, the EFL Cup,
And a
and
second
second
place finish,
place. I mean, for Jose standards,
which he said was the most important thing he ever did in his
which is
career.
great, which is like insane to say that a second place finish with United is more impressive than a continental treble with Inter and a European Cup with Porto in
Porto.
2004. That should tell you in and of itself enough, you know. And I mean,
The
Ole,
writing was on the wall
did you
in
watch
freaking
the
2017.
did you get the chance to watch the Ole overlap episode with like Gary Neville and Roy
No, but
Keane?
that podcast is incredible, man.
Yeah,
They
so
are absolutely brilliant.
that's a really good example because there's a lot of things that you can tell he really wants to say, but he just is not saying.
Ole is such a he's the most politically correct person ever. I would not expect him to air out the dirty laundry. That will come from Ten Hag.
Say that again, sorry?
I said Ole is the most politically correct person ever. I think he
No,
values
exactly.
relationships at United. but when he would never air out the dirty laundry, I don't think.
No, 100%. But to segue from that, we'll go to so we did
But
Manchester
I will
United.
check out that because the overlap have really good
No, they
episodes.
do. Some of the
Very
Patrice Ever
funny.
one was fantastic.
I like who's the Italian defender, the Juve defender? Um, what's his name?
Italian.
Cellini.
He was on it.
When he came in with the Roy Keane jersey, that was
Oh, I didn't get
incredible.
the chance to watch that one.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Hmm. Okay, so we will segue from that. We have more Champions League to discuss.
Yeah,
Um, we can talk about Real Madrid now. I think it's a good time. Had a little bit of up and
you've
down
been in
form.
hell.
I know. Well, I mean, this season has taken like 5 years off my life. Where thank God we didn't record the week after the Clasico, the 4-0. But
That's when
I think you
that's
guys
when
got
you just
smacked that.
disappear,
Oh
huh?
no, man! I think
But
you got.
the good thing is like we've both been going through it because we've had some terrible results in the past few. Like we've been good for like the last 3 weeks, but before that it was just draw, loss, draw, loss. But you go ahead, please. I would like to hear your thoughts on your club
I mean, it's been a very up and down season. I think is the best way to describe it. Thankfully, Jude Bellingham is back.
and Vinny.
And Vinicius. I think the biggest thing for me is just that Real Madrid as a club, which I mean is very rich for me to say this, considering how much success they've had in the past, is very reactive rather than proactive,
Hmm.
and I feel like because of the success that they've had over the past couple of years, and really as a history and the stature of the club, anytime you bring that into question, people get angry, especially people in the club, where they're like, well, just let the board do their jobs because they have a track record of success. So
Hmm.
I think it was extremely obvious that this summer they needed a center back. There's a reason they were going after Lenny Yoro as hard as they were, and then Lenny Yoro goes to Manchester United, and then the board just puts their hands up and says, "Well, the market's closed. There's no one there that we can really go after." And I think the frustration comes for me is that Madrid are the type of club that kind of lets the market come to them a lot of the time rather than goes and makes a market. And maybe there is no club better in the world that can go and make a market for a player if they really want to. Like there's really no player that can, no other club in the world that can go to a player at a club and say, "Hey, we want you," and all hell breaks loose and they're like, "Okay, I need to go to Madrid. This is a chance for a huge move." So, with that being said, there are obviously clear and gaping holes in their squad this season. Right back is a problem, especially even before Carvajal was going. We said, okay, this is potentially going to be a problem. Okay, we'll see how much the news with Trent is true versus not true this summer. Obviously, I think he's eligible to for a free transfer starting January 1st, and I think um, something along those
He's
lines will happen. And then in terms of the center backs, Alaba, who his injury history has gotten worse and worse over time, and then so now it's just Rudiger, and then Chouameni has had to be like reconverted to a center back. Midfield, which was their deepest position from preseason, now is still thin, and then obviously like we haven't even started talking about all the Mbappe stuff with the form, um,
Mhm.
and to his credit has been better in the past weeks, but I think this is kind of a byproduct of every Madrid game is so scrutinized versus PSG, for example, where if Mbappe has a stinker on the weekend versus if he scores
Nobody
three,
knows.
nobody
Yeah.
knows unless it's him scoring and then you see the footage of the goal. Versus Madrid, I mean every single game is heavily watched and analyzed. So if he has six chances on the weekend and doesn't score,
That's one
everybody
topic.
knows
Yeah.
about it. Everyone's talking about it. He's on the front page of Marca, et cetera, down the line. So, I mean, there is really no better player to adjust to that pressure um, than him, or he is one of the best to be able to do it. But I think it's the result in the midweek was the first like game this year that I feel like the club or the team has showed that they actually have like a spine because I feel like all the huge games this season that they've gone into have been extremely disappointing. The Atletico Madrid with the equalizer very late in the game, the Barcelona obviously 4-0 at home, Liverpool 2-0 and the missed penalty, and then Atletico Bilbao 4 days before um, the Mbappe missed penalty again. So it's good to see now that with Vinny and Bellingham back in the lineup. Um, as a
You guys
club,
have
they
a great
stepped up in a game. Honestly, I thought they were going to lose. I mean, going to Bergamo, I think they won 14 in a row going into this game, or were at least 9 in a row and 14 undefeated.
Mhm.
Um, Essentially saved their season in the Champions League. To not to be dramatic, but I mean, a loss here, and they're basically staring down the barrel with two very difficult games left. So, um, it's been a tough start to the season for them, but I have optimism if, and this is a big if with Madrid. I don't think they're gonna make moves in January, but I don't think that the recipe that they've had this season, relying on the same set of players, is gonna be successful anymore. I think they need some depth, especially in the defense. I think that the rest of I think they have options in attack and options in the midfield, but in defense especially, they need reinforcements.
Do you think one thing I will say that I maybe disagree with you is like your transfer policy, right? The team you have right now is a bunch of like really, really good young players that
Yes.
you've probably paid little below market within the last 3, 4 years that
Yep.
you've like assembled, right?
Yes.
I think I think that approach with what you see happening at Barcelona, what you see happening at City with all the allegations, all that stuff. I think a club as big as you guys, with the money that you guys have, approaching the market that way, where you're getting Arda Güler for 20 million, a Chouameni for 80, the stuff like that is Kamavinga for 30, 38 million or something, 35 million. That I think would is what like the board will point towards, like, hey, we've assembled these players paying a fair value right now where they're probably double, triple that price.
Yes.
I think that has probably kept you because we all know Hazard that was a complete botch when they
Yep.
did try to do that setting the transfer market pretty much and being taken to the wood shop for by Chelsea in negotiations where you're still like club success is still being paid out to Chelsea, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I respect that approach that they've had over the last 3, 4 seasons, and it's been led to a really great team that you guys have. And but
Yes.
one thing I do dislike is that if it's not Madrid's way, then they don't even look at back or they don't even
Yup.
think about it, which I
Yes.
don't like because you cannot function like that as a club because injuries occur. You come into even last season when we're talking earlier in the year when you guys were still a little bit, you guys were winning games, but you're like we're short here, we're short there. January, I know for a fact they're not gonna do anything. And right now it's basically you have no defenders, your midfield is light, and your attackers is very light. I would say you only have 5 attackers, 4 midfielders, and maybe 4 or 5 good
One central
defenders.
defender, frankly. One
Exactly.
natural
I
and one
think you have
academy player in Asensio.
an Asensio. So I agree where the frustration comes, but it's kind of a double-edged sword because what they do kind of works, but they where they needed to bolster, they don't. Obviously, this summer they needed to get defenders, but Mbappe was the main focus. The summer before that, it was replacing it was the lack of not replacing Benzema, but that kind of worked out. So it's always you guys kind of stumble into good things when you guys don't prepare, which is kind of just how fortunate of a club you guys are that you lose a player like Benzema who won the Ballon d'Or, and the next year you follow up winning
Yeah.
a double and a UCL, and then the next year you get Mbappe. So stuff like that is very hard. I think from where you're speaking of, and you're somebody who's attuned to the club, who knows everything that's going on, you can see the clear flaws. while understanding how the club operates,
Yep.
and that's where
The
the disconnect
frustration.
happens.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but in terms of speaking of what you guys have done on the pitch this season, obviously Mbappe has been the big talking points because he just hasn't been up to par. And we kind of talked about this a lot the last time we were here, where I pretty much said it was not looking good, and I don't think it's still particularly looking good. But you see a little light at the end of the tunnel. I think his injury kind of sucks, but um, he stepped up when Vinny was out. Obviously, he missed those two penalties back to back games, but that's a little bit par for the course with a player of that magnitude. But in terms of what you guys will accomplish this season, I really is very hard to like there's no way to project it with just the inconsistency. And I would say that's the same exact way we approached it last year, and it led to a league title and a freaking
One
Champions
loss,
League
basically
title.
one
One
two
loss the
loss
entire
season.
season. Exactly.
Yeah.
And every I there is this is all on freaking the airwaves and on wax that I was like, I don't really know what to say about this club because whatever I say,
They do the
they do the
opposite.
other thing.
Yep.
And right now it's a little bit more of the same where you're still winning, but you're not playing where you should be, where I think is a very, very familiar place for you guys, which is not where you want to be. I think even like a city, what city's going through, they're like, oh shit, we are way better than this. Like we did this last year, but I don't think you guys can even say that because last year you guys have the trophies, but in terms of what's the output on the field was not up to the standards of the squad. So
To a degree, I feel like there were stretches last season where they just kind of just dominated their opponents. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, like exactly like you said, like the big headline has been Mbappe, and there's been a lot of inconsistency, and like you said, there's a disconnect between um the board's perception of the way to view the market and the way a lot of the fan base wants them to approach the market, which is that Real Madrid is the biggest club in the world, um, and should anticipate problems in their squad. I mean, I feel like we could see from a mile away that they needed a center back.
yeah, that
So,
was obvious. Yeah.
and they needed depth in defense. And, lo and behold, Lucas Vasquez and an academy player are starting basically to his credit. Asensio has been great, but they are starting every game. And that cannot, and we haven't even, and Rudiger is playing, has to play. He doesn't really have a choice, has to play every game. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, the only thing they have really that's really good for them right now is the fact that of how many options they have in the attack. So Rodrigo, misses, Arda Güler steps in, or Brahim Diaz, who hasn't had to play as much this season, but he's been as always good, and Güler has been good.
Hmm.
Endrick, we haven't even really seen much of him, so they have options in attack, but the problem just continues to be we see these problems and they don't react. And now, because they didn't get Lenny Yoro in the summer and lost out to United, which, by the way, from a perspective from him, he could be playing every
That's
game right now for Real Madrid, which is there is no better place to be as an 18-year-old kid. Um,
absolutely.
but from that perspective, now after Lenny Yoro, they just kind of packed it up, and there were a lot of good center backs in the window that were available for transfer that were not um, not a crazy price, and there were a lot of fullbacks that were not a crazy price. For example, Mazraoui from Bayern Munich was 12 million,
Yeah.
I believe United got him for. Very good business. Um, there were plenty of center backs available that I could just think of off the top of my head. I know Jonathan Tah was a name that was mentioned a lot, but historically, Madrid has not done anything in January ever. I'm curious to see, based on the way the squad has been doing, if that changes this year. I would be surprised if the answer is yes, but I think a center back on loan or someone who can play both right back and center back would be ideal. My name is Juan Foyth from Villarreal, but obviously it's a lot more expensive to
In
get
in the
people in
summer.
January than in in the summer.
I think uh like I don't the right now I see the picture on the writing on the wall, which is Trent Arnold and Davies.
Yep.
That is, I really do think it's going to happen because of just the way Salah is talking, the way Van Dijk is talking, the way Arnold has not signed anything. I think that is clear on the wall that Liverpool is something is going on there that will eventually come out, which would lead to Trent just leaving and walking away from that. And
Yep.
Davies is already rumored to be done and dusted, and that's
Yep.
not even a question. So I get the bolstering of that. That is, forget center backs, forget attackers. I think fullbacks has been a position for you guys to address probably for the last 5 years. Uh,
Yeah.
that is probably
I
the
know.
longest awaited position. But I think Real Madrid is the club that they will never be bullied into anything. They
Nope.
understand their fan base well. They will do what they think is best for the club. But I will say, Rudiger might go down as probably one of the most essential signings in Real Madrid history by what he's done the last 3, 4 years. And
Yep.
for a free to say that, and he's young enough to where he'll be there for the next 3, 4 seasons. Um, that is a sneaky, sneaky, sneaky great signing. That if he wasn't at the club right now,
We'd be
especially how
so
well he's
cooked.
been playing as last year, probably the best defender in the world. Just on a whole nother level, and you guys got him for a free. Chelsea robbed you guys, but I think you guys got them back for one.
We got
But
them back with Courtois and Rudiger, so
Courtois too. Courtois was the first domino. They had to get their lick back.
yeah, they killed us on
Courtois
that
actually
side
kind of
move.
it was a whole lot of drama because he was like, "F you guys, get me out of here."
Yeah.
Uh, but I think because Trent will cost a lot of money and Davies will be free. No, Trent will be free. You think
Trent
or
will be
no?
free too, yes.
Trent will be free too.
Unless
But you guys have
Liverpool let him go for January, which I doubt.
I don't think so. They're in especially with how well they're playing. They won't
I
even
just
answer.
struggle to think that he's gonna leave though, man. I don't. It just seems kind of too like unreal, you know?
Why would he stay if Salah and Van Dijk and all
You
those
think
guys
all
on?
their you think that they're just gonna get ransacked like that? Like they're not gonna be able to keep any of them?
I think Salah, they're gonna put $1 billion
I can't
on the
see
table
Van Dijk
right there.
leaving either. You can
No,
you
Van
can
Dijk.
think Van Dijk will leave
I really think Liverpool is frugal. Like the way these players deserve to be paid, they're not gonna be getting paid.
because of the
Salah
wage
can
structure.
command 500K a week. I don't think that will
How
happen.
do you replace Van Dijk and Salah and Trent in one window? You could buy
That's I
10
think they're
players
gonna
with the
leave in
money. They
January,
would.
but I think they're gone after the season.
No, I don't think they go in January. Yeah, of course. But I mean, how like you could replace them with 10 people if you got fees for them and struggle to replace them. Much less you they all leave and you have zero to show for it. Nah,
No,
they're
they're
gonna
about
keep
to.
at least Van Dijk. I think impossible.
They have to pay somebody, and if you're Liverpool, are you paying Trent, Salah, or Van Dijk? You have to pay Trent, but I don't think he's
No, how old's Van Dijk? 31.
32,
Oh
31,
man, see
32.
how old Salah?
Salah's same age, closer to 33, I think. And
He
Trent
is
is right in
so
his
good this
prime.
season. By the way,
He's been unbelievable, bro. I can't even believe what he's doing at his age.
I'm just
It's the
trying
new
to think
hairline.
where does Van Dijk leave? Like where does he go if he leaves?
See, that's Van Dijk has no out.
Yeah, see, I can see
Salah has
Salah going to like Saudi or something. Like that's
Yeah,
very
Salah is
predictable.
definitely going to Saudi. And
Yes,
Trent, if Real Madrid comes calling
I can
to
see
play with
that too.
Mbappe, to play with all those guys,
With
I
Jude,
think
I
that's
think
an
is
opportunity.
the big one.
Absolutely. But Van Dijk has no out. Nobody's paying 80 million for a 34-year-old defender, especially if he's worth it. But I don't think at that age it justifies anything.
Yes.
But Real Madrid, I think right now I think that's the focus. Center back, I don't know how you're gonna figure that out. I don't think you can. I don't care what you put out into the streets. William Saliba is not going to Madrid.
You don't think he'll
So
ever go there?
absolutely not. Why would he leave us? Why?
You don't think he'd
Why?
go to Madrid?
Why would he? Why would he?
When is his
What
contract up?
he has 3 years left. After
Okay,
this
you got
season,
2 years to enjoy him.
I swear, if you take, I'm killing myself.
There's no way Saliba will never end up at a different club than ours. Like he will leave at some point.
I think if we go trophyless the next 2 years, I think
No,
it's
no, you
much.
guys will win a trophy in the next 2 years. There's no way.
And we have to win something. My cousin always says the French, if you don't, they want
They will
either
surrender the
big event.
quickest.
Exactly. They're first to jump ship.
Absolutely.
So I would like uh Real Madrid to just the plan is simple. You have all the pieces. I think you just need a starting center back, two fullbacks, and you're cooking. But
I
that's been the
agree.
case for the last 3 years.
Yep.
So and it's the fact that you guys have this great team and you guys have such clear big holes that it's like it's still not
It's
like
so frustrating. It's like we're
you guys
so
won a Champions
close.
League and a league title without a striker, bro.
I know.
Like and Jude came out and had a 20-10 season. Like it's stuff like that is
And he
just
looks better this season than last season, but that's a conversation for another day.
yeah, come on.
Did you
Last
see his
season.
goal against Atalanta?
No, he's incredible. Jude's an
Oh, they miss
unbelievable player.
Cruz. They do though this season. That's the
Cruz
big
is
one.
Cruz, a player that left a year early than a year too late. What a
Yes.
legend.
Yeah,
I respect him so much more. I don't like him as a player, but I respect him a
he's
lot.
a fantastic,
He
fantastic
went out on
player.
top.
Yeah. But so we'll go so we talked about Real Madrid, we talked about United. We can talk a little bit about Arsenal if you would like.
No, thank you. I hate them so much.
Well then
I
let's
watched I watched Gabriel Jesus yesterday for 80 minutes,
oh
bro.
no.
Sick to my stomach.
Well now okay, then we will talk about one thing actually because we haven't
We
talked
can
about
end with
this.
the MVP stuff or the Ballon
Yeah,
d'Or
yeah,
if we talk.
we'll do our Ballon d'Or, but before we do our Ballon d'Or,
Yeah.
I'll throw in one little wrench. Chelsea.
I knew you were gonna take this victory lap because
It's too early to take a victory lap. I'll play the fake humble
a
card
nice
right
little
now.
check-in.
I'll be a nice and fake humble because in like if this was 6 months later, then I'd be singing a different tune. But
They are unbelievable, man. So moving.
unbelievable.
I'm so
I
moved.
was too conservative. I was like, okay, they'll push for top four this season, but they are the real deal. Like from a recruitment perspective, we can kind of step back now and say like they are
The
properly
squad depth
properly
is
cooking.
unbelievable.
Their
The
squad depth
squad
is
depth is
fantastic.
unbelievable.
They have arguably the best bench in the league. They are finally starting to, hit on transfers. Enzo Fernandez looks like the part. Cole Palmer obviously continuing to look fantastic. Jadon Sancho has looked good. Pedro Neto has been great. And then you look to their bench, and every week they're able to bring players like Joao Felix,
Yeah.
Nkunku, Disasi, Madueke from the bench, and that is, I mean, second place
It's
right now. So
abs second place by 2 points.
yeah,
And one thing I do like is these midweek games, the fact that they can send an entire team and not send their starting 11 is absolutely amazing. Like that is we and I don't want to like walk back everything I said about them, but I think this was the year where we had to see a little bit of
I
progress
agree.
um in terms of what they're building towards. And right now they have maybe 15 young players that are all clicking, that are all I think Maresca he has them he's basically running a tight ship because he has everybody's playing for the team.
Yep.
Obviously they have a clear superstar in Cole Palmer. He's unbelievable. And then all the other players like Fernandez and Nkunku and all those players that were fringe players that we thought, hey, maybe they missed out on it. Finally, I don't think they're world beaters, but they're contributing to a bigger team,
Yes.
they're not needed to be 10 out of 10 every game, but they're 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 every week. And then you see Caicedo, who's kind of separated himself from
Quietly
the
has
pack
become
and
an
has
unbelievable midfielder, man.
absolutely, he's an absolute tank of a midfielder. So it's everything is kind of pointing towards the right direction. I think top four this season would be monumental because they can kind of sell like five players that will go for really good prices and then just do whatever they want in terms of financial fair play. Um, I think a striker is still something they desperately need, even though Nico Jackson has been unbelievable this season.
Yep.
His profile, I don't think is somebody that, with just the amount of chances he misses, that's not somebody you can take to a title contending team. But they're they've arrived, I would say, and I think they've kind of last year was sucked, the year before that sucked, and the year before that sucked, and right now, finally, for the first time there is progression towards what Todd Bowley's vision was, which is having a bunch of really good players on one team.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually the best place you want to be because those are good headaches to have when
Yes.
everyone that you have on your team can realistically contribute and you can rely upon them. I wish Nkunku would play a little bit more. He's a super sub that comes in 70th, 80th minute every game, but he's a contributor. Fernandez. So I just love Caicedo, man. Caicedo he's unbelievable. He's worth every penny it looks like right now. Fernandez, the jury's still out because he's still young, but who's the other guy they got? The guy they
Lavia.
bought Lavia, who's been unbelievable as well. Missed all of last year with injury.
And they
And
have
now
another Brazilian kid who's on loan, but I'm drawing a blank on his name.
yes, I think he's in Germany.
Yes.
I know who you're talking about, but there's more coming. They're
They're in a great
about to get
place.
another Brazilian, who's
David
probably one of
Washington.
the is it Washington?
They have, I mean, there's so many players. I can't even keep up.
Todd Bowley is running a sweatshop. He's literally turned the Premier League into the MLB.
You know what's crazy is that like
Because
legitimately all these players and like people were like, this is the part that people were angry. They're like, okay, you cannot correlate this to football because good luck trying to sell these players when people don't know you want him. And I was like, I completely disagree because like for example, like Angelo, who they got from Santos, they sold him to Al Nassr at a profit, and then
yep.
they sold another guy to Burnley.
I don't think they've taken a loss yet. The only loss I would even Kai Havertz, they made a freaking profit. Like
That
that is
was like that was the and Mason Mount.
Mason
Oh my
Mount profit
goodness.
is we thought it was Maria, but it might just be a
It might
entire
just be
club
a
thing.
club DNA
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But from a recruitment perspective, fantastic. The plan is finally coming to fruition, and I could not agree with you more that I think this was the season where if they were like 15th right now, we'd be
Then you
like
have to,
start to abandon ship and things like that. But second in the league.
and you
Um
have to give them credit for the Maresca hire as well. He was in the
yes.
championship last year.
Yes.
So that took a lot of guts, but I think he's the definite profile that you need for a locker room full of young players that
Yes.
all of them think they're just as good as everybody else, and he's made them like function as a team. Like
Yeah.
it's absolutely a joy to watch them. They're the game against Tottenham last week was like I don't even that was a great game, but for them to come back 2-0 and win 3-4 is absolutely just it speaks volumes to their roster and Maresca himself.
Yeah, I mean the profile of Maresca has been fantastic. I think they've needed like a hard-nosed manager to kind of come in. Like some
No
of the
bullshit,
stuff
yeah.
was on yeah, exactly. Like in the summer where he was like, I have my squad of 25 and 20 don't train with the squad. And those 25 are in my plans and the other 20 can,
Yeah.
screw off. So
Even
exactly.
even even when Chelsea I still think we're better than them, but they still somehow infiltrated our team with Sterling. Like they still always get one
Oh, I
on
still
us,
can't
and
believe,
I hate.
after they were able to get rid of Sterling, I was like, they can do anything, honestly. They can sell anyone if they can sell Sterling.
No, their transfer, they're like selling and buying. They're probably the
Does he get
best in the.
minutes for you guys anymore, or have you guys like
He
completely
he
wiped
plays
him?
in the cup games. He has not made a Premier League appearance in probably a month or so, but
Yeah, for good measure. But
he stinks.
I think I said last time that they're a top four team now for me. So are
You
they are
did. You,
I think
you,
instead of
I
United.
will. I will. This is a hill that you've been willing. You even last year you bit the bullet, but like you still. it's the payoff is I understand it. I
You have you
understand.
you watched The Big Short where Michael Burry's like, I wasn't wrong, I was just early.
And early, yep. Great movie. Good reference.
Yes.
I
So
was watching American Psycho the other day, and
great movie as well.
great movie as well. And I was looking at Christian Bale. The way he looks in American Psycho and the way he looks in The Big Short is like I'm like this I can't believe this guy was Batman. I
And he was
watched the
Batman, and the other one where he's super skinny, the machinist, I think, the machinist.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He roles that are but I The Big Short, great movie. Absolutely. Dumbed down the entire freaking housing crisis.
Yeah, fantastic,
I love it.
fantastic film. Great actor. But we'll go into our last segment before the 352, which is a pretty quick one.
Yeah.
Um, I'll add one, one little caveat. So, who's been your early season ballon? And if you had to say your winners of La Liga,
Hmm.
um, and the Bundesliga, Syria, and then your top four in the Prem. I'm
Oof.
putting you on the spot.
I think I think I think Mohamed Salah would probably be my Ballon d'Or winner to
Yes.
start now, just because of he's a one man show. It seems like he's I believe his assist creation and goals, he's number one in the league.
Yes.
And then just what he's done for Luis Diaz, Nunez, all of them, he's elevated their game. I give Arne Slot as well credit for what he's done. My La Liga winner, I would pick Barcelona.
You think they're
I
gonna
think you guys
win?
are right now, you guys are maybe they're 1 point ahead of you guys.
We're one
Uh,
point. We if we win our game in hand, we'll be 1 point ahead.
okay, so with Mbappe, I really think the wheels could fall off anytime. But even though Barcelona kind of had a terrible month in November to finish out, but I think Barcelona still wins. Bundesliga, I would say Bayern. I think Harry Kane is injured right now, but I think they would. I'm not really sold on Leverkusen right now, even though they're playing well. And then Serie A is probably the one I have no clue what's happening, but I would say Inter to repeat. Um, and then my top four would be Liverpool, would be Arsenal, would be Chelsea, and then it would be Man City.
In that order,
No, the order would be Arsenal, Liverpool,
you still think
Chelsea.
you're winning the league?
I
I
think I
love the
think we're
dedication. I love it.
no.
I love it.
I'm leaving with something. I'm either leaving with a FA Cup and a league title, or a Champions League title. I have to win
You're eight
something.
points behind,
Yeah, 6 points behind, but they have a game in
so
hand.
9, because they're definitely gonna
Nine.
win it.
They're definitely gonna
Oh,
win. No,
that's
Salah is
tough.
gonna be gone. What do you mean they're definitely gonna be? Salah is gonna be gone for a month.
For
Isn't he?
AFCON
Yeah, for
again?
AFCON.
No,
I think
impossible. We
so.
just had it.
I swear someone told me AFCON was back this year. We did. It is.
No, no way.
Please tell me. Please don't break
You're
my
so
heart, because
excited.
I'm relying on that so much.
No, no, 2025.
Oh, no, it is 2025.
No, no, December 2025.
Oh,
Because I was like, they just had it. There's no way. The Morocco one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I was like, what? Yes, the whoever
nah,
told you
there's
that
no
was
way
lying. That
they'll
was a loud
definitely win that
lie.
one. Ah,
No,
whoever lied to me. Suhaib lied to me. Suhaib lied to me.
he's Somali, bro. He doesn't keep up with international football. I don't blame him.
He saw 2025 and he was like, it's
No,
tomorrow.
because the World Cup qualifiers are like loaded in Tuesday, like in
Right, yeah,
February and March.
yeah, that would
Which
have been
like if
bad. So,
Algeria don't qualify from the group with Somalia, like I'm not showing up. So I'm gonna go into hiding
bro,
for a little bit.
that's a crazy shot, bro. Relax. You're fine.
No, there's good teams. I think Mali's in our group, so and only the first one goes. And if the African qualifiers is like if you don't get first, then every single second place team plays for one spot. And I would hate to be in that position, man. So
No, no, no. I don't think you have to worry about Somalia. we're still 2 years away from being 2 years away. We got something cooking, but not yet. So I would say now that is okay. So my top four with no AFCON would be Liverpool winning the league.
Oh, you're throwing
Arsenal.
in the towel. No, man, you can't do this. I just complimented you
No, no,
on
no.
sticking to
I'm a
your
realist.
guns. All
Nine
right,
points is hard to overcome, especially with the way they're playing. They
you
have
need to
one loss.
believe.
I believe I will some. I have a higher chance of winning the Champions League than I do the league with
No,
nine.
come on.
I'm serious.
You don't think they're
9
gonna go on a run where they just drop points?
No, I don't think so. Not anytime soon.
Hmm.
Unless a major injury happens to either Van Dijk, Arnold, or even Arnold, they don't even need him that much because
But
Bradley's
Connor
just
Bradley's been
is
unreal.
incredible.
But Vinny would have had him crying. Thank God he missed that game. Remember what he did last season to what's his name? The Brazilian right back.
Um,
Jan Couto. He's on Dortmund. He was like
wait,
he was a Madrid
oh,
like
in the
he was
final.
no in Girona with Girona the game for the basically for the
Oh,
league and like the right back like for Girona was linked heavily to Madrid like we were gonna get him in the summer and Vinny ate him alive for 90 minutes. He was crying after the game.
Vinny has done that to so many players. He's never come across somebody like Yuri and Timber, but that's
No,
another
I do
conversation
you
for
want
another
is
day.
this the year you want to play us still?
I genuinely think I can beat anybody. That's what I feel like. Odegaard, he had a terrible game against Monaco. Well, he played excellent, but he missed a few sitters. But I genuinely I'm fine when it comes to anything, bro. I'm like even in this down spell we had, I was perfectly content. I was like, we just gotta stay afloat until Odegaard comes back, and we did. So I don't think the league is gone, but I think 9 points with the way Liverpool is playing is way too hard to overcome.
To Arsenal's credit, like I was not really big on the Saka train, but no, I'm fully on board. He is unreal.
Odegaard?
No, Saka,
Saka? Oh yeah, 10, bro. He has I
he's
believe
different.
21 goals and assists this season,
He's
bro,
different.
in all competitions. Ridiculous.
I'll go
And
through
he's the
mine.
most not flashy, just straight 8 out of 10 performances every week, which
Yeah,
I the
good for
best
him.
trait to have is
Gen-
being reliable.
Genuinely
Uh,
one of the most likable players in football. Like just kind of just does his work, quiet, humble, leader, great player.
and I've come to the realization that Martinelli stinks. So you were ahead of me on that. So we need
I'll get you there. I'll get you there on Havertz soon. Just give it some time.
Havertz, bro. Havertz, I love him so
Oh,
much.
strike it from the tape.
I don't think so. I remember when we were clowning him in the World Cup, bro, in 2022.
And the
We were
Euros,
like,
he sucked. He was garbage.
we would end every pod episode with Havertz is trash after every Germany game. But
Oh
I
my
love him so
god.
much. I would die for Havertz. But I think the top four would be Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. That's my order. But you,
Okay.
please.
Uh,
Man,
La Liga's
I don't know.
tough. I still think the order I had preseason for La Liga will be Madrid, Atletico, Barca, 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Atletico is quietly, if they win their game in hand, tied with Barcelona for second. Um, and then the Serie A, I'm still going. I don't know. Juve is a tough one because, and Serie A has been great because there's been 5 teams that are all vying. It's
Yeah.
I think Lazio's in the mix too. But I'll stick with Juve, but I would not be surprised if Napoli win it. Conte and they've looked unbelievable, and Atalanta, who's number one in the table right now, have also been fantastic. Like we just played them, and they're great.
They're incredible. Yeah.
Gasparini is such an unbelievable coach. Like what he's done with the players that he's brought in, how good he's made Adamono Lookman look, excuse me. And then Charles de Ketelaere, who they brought in from AC Milan, who was like a huge flop there, and now has gone to Atalanta and is one of their better players. Bundesliga, I'm still sticking with Bayern, and then the Prem. I can't believe I had Liverpool
I had
fourth.
Man United fourth. I
I
can't
had
believe
them
it.
third. That is like so shameless. But I'm gonna
I had
stick
Aston
with.
Villa fourth. I think they could still make a run, but that would eliminate. They would need to overcome
You think
Man
City
City.
are dead? You don't think they can do it? 11 points.
No, I think they'll limp to a fourth place finish.
I think this
I
is the.
think
Yeah,
this is it. You think?
I think this is their off year. So I'm gonna stick with. I'll say Liverpool one. The problem with Liverpool is I just feel like they will have a run of games in the middle of the year where they like drop points in like 4 out of 5. It's
If it
coming.
doesn't come this month, if it doesn't come in December, where they're playing freaking 5 games in like a week and a half, no one's stopping
I
them.
think it's in February. I think it will come. But I'll say Liverpool 1, Arsenal 2, Chelsea 3, City 4. And it'll be close. I think 2 through 4 will be really close.
Yeah, I think 2 to 4 would be really close, and then the winner kind of just if it's Liverpool, they'll probably win by more than 9 points. I feel like Arsenal just they're too inconsistent. We literally cannot create a chance unless it's a freaking corner. Like we have
Your set
Odegaard does all
piece,
he can, and we
he
just
needs a
can't.
raise.
The set piece guy,
Yeah.
Nico Jova.
Yeah, I don't know any set piece guys in football except for his name. So that in and of itself like should tell me tells me everything I need to know. But I mean, I think it just depends on who wins the Champions League. My Ballon right now would be Salah. But
Oh,
ooh,
we didn't say a Champions League winner. I didn't say a Champions League winner. Who do you think it's gonna be?
I have no idea. I'm gonna say
And
there's
that's why I
there's a
won't say
tier
it.
of clubs that I think can win it.
Has that I think we've said this, has that tier stayed the same for you? Has anybody gone up or down off that list? Because
City
my list is still the same.
City can win it. Real Madrid
Yeah,
can win it.
yeah.
Liverpool, I'll add them to the list. Obviously, they haven't lost. Atletico, Bayern, and that's Barcelona's on the edge. I think that's it. Oh, Inter,
I
but
don't think City can win it. But
I will never count out City in a home away Champions League because I think their players will bring it when it matters in the Champions League. Not, I mean, the group stage is one thing,
yes,
but in
when
the
it comes to yeah, I
knockouts,
agree with you.
also
Um,
the Etihad is quietly a very tough place to play on Champions League nights.
it is. It is. They no when it means something, I feel like that's like they always they're still professionals at the end of the day.
Exactly.
They'll get up for it. But these 8 games, I think they've kind of just been sleepwalking.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, we'll go into our last segment, which is the 3-5-2,
Yeah.
where we
I need to
put
put mine.
5 minutes on the clock, and we each give three predictions for the two of us. You want me to kick us off, or you got it?
Yes, please. No, please.
All right. I will start. So we have the Manchester Derby, and I
Mhm.
think that the I'm gonna go a little boring. I'm gonna say 1-1. I think that City do not win again. I think that's kind of the big preface, but I think Anarim gets an important point.
Yeah.
Um, and
I
City
think his
more
schedule has
importantly
been
draw.
a little bit tough. The
Yes, it
guy,
has.
he's already seen everybody and he's just been on the job for 3 weeks.
He's
It's
seen
crazy.
Forest, who've been really good. We haven't even talked about them, but
Yep.
yeah, that's my
Arsenal,
first one.
now City. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this is not my one of my predictions, but I think Man United. I think this for a young manager, for not a young manager, but a new manager to come in. I remember when Arteta took the job, his first big game or test like this was against Man United, which was, I believe, his third game. And he won confidently, convincingly 2-0, I believe. So I think Amaran needs a win like that. And I think when City is kind of on a downward spiral, this is the perfect time. A game of this magnitude, a derby, I think they do it. I would
Yes.
say 2-1 um to Manchester United. But
Okay.
mine would be I believe, let me see here. Chelsea play against Brentford. I
Mhm.
think they drop points. And it's time. I'm full on jinx mode. So Chelsea drop points to Brentford, and then hopefully that's the start of I'm not too worried about Chelsea when it comes to just keeping up with them in terms of points. Um, but I need them to be a little bit rattled. So Brentford, I think they drop points. Which they haven't been doing. They haven't been losing these games, um, which they did all of last year with. Remember they won like 6 in a row or something like that, and we were like, "Oh, they're back!"
Yeah.
And then they played against freaking Southampton, and yeah. So I think they lose to Brentford.
All right, I'm gonna throw a little curveball at you. This one, you're not gonna
Yeah.
expect this one. We haven't talked about them all year, but Fenerbahce and Jose Mourinho in
Yes.
the Turkish league have lost 2 games in their first 14, and Galatasaray are undefeated in their first 14. And I'm gonna say that Fenerbahce is gonna win the league this year.
Oof. Oof. 14. He's lost 2 games in 14.
Yes,
Mourinho might.
he's won 10 of 14 though.
Okay, that's it's still a good record.
It's
Where
very
is he in
good,
the
very
number
good.
one?
10, 2, and 2. Huh?
No, is he number one?
Number 2, Galatasaray has won 12 and drawn 2 and lost 0. I mean, they have
Galatasaray.
Osimhen, who is like 50
Yes.
times better than every defender in that league. So,
Osimhen. We were like, Chelsea will get him, Arsenal will get him. Oh, maybe this team will get him. Real Madrid even kicked it a little bit, and now he's in Turkey.
you know
Uh,
that meme of like the Bugatti sitting in that like trailer park?
yes.
Yeah, that's like Osimhen. Like Galatasaray is a good team, but that's like the best. That's the best example.
Is Galatasaray in the Champions League? I don't think so, right?
They
Last
are,
year.
yeah, they might be in Europa.
Yes, I think they're in Europa.
Yes, they are.
Arsenal plays Everton this weekend. I we won 3-0 against Monaco, but it should have been 6. So I think we get our 6-0. 6-0 against Everton, who's been terrible this
Six
year, but
nil is nuts. Okay.
we have one of those a year. So I think we did have, I think, 5-0 against West Ham. Um a 5-1, I should say, against West Ham. So one more would be 6-0 against Everton. Everton's not very good.
Okay, both Madrid clubs this weekend. Real Madrid away to
Yes.
Vallecano, Atletico home to Getafe. Those are the teams with the game in hand, and I'm gonna say Barcelona go into their game at 2 p.m. Or 8 p.m. local. With both like Madrid and Atletico have won their games, so Barcelona are third going into their game this weekend, which I think increases the pressure. But I think both of those clubs win their game in hand.
Meaning you guys are first place?
We would be first, and Atletico would
And
be second until Barcelona plays on Sunday afternoon. And then obviously it goes from there. But I think Real and Atletico win this weekend.
who's Real playing against?
Away to Vallecano. Not an
Oof.
easy place to play.
Yeah.
Vallecano are 12th.
And what's Mbappe's injury? He's fine?
No, he's not playing this weekend for sure.
Damn.
But they have the Intercontinental Cup final on the 16th, so or the I think the 17th
Is that in
midweek.
Saudi? Is that in Qatar?
It's in Qatar. It's in Lusail, so Mbappe knows that stadium well. He scored a hat trick the last time he was there, so
Yes, the World Cup final.
yes,
Beautiful stadium.
absolutely stunning.
Beautiful. Okay, Mbappe's not playing. I think it's the Vinny show. So Vinny's about to ball out if he plays. I know he came back against Atalanta and he was inserted right into the starting lineup. So I'm expecting I would say 2 goals for Vinny in Mbappe's absence.
We get another
'Cause
Jude goal too. Telling you, oh, he's
Jude,
cooking.
I don't think Jude needs to score. Like last year was kind of like he needed to because of just the lack of goal scoring threat. But if he gets his 10 goals, 5 assists for the season, that's an incredible.
He's
Um,
unreal. He's so good. I didn't think it was possible for him to just hit another stride as a midfielder, but this season,
he's
because
20 years old. Like,
can you
of
believe
course,
that?
get better. He will get better, but I just hate that he's defined by goals so much for
I know.
somebody in his position. But when you do something like that in your first season, that's to be expected.
Yep.
Uh, but I say Vinny against Vallecano away. I think he cooks. That's my third prediction.
Yep.
Anytime it's very we saw it last year when Vinny was out and then Rodrigo was out. Who was the clear, man of the,
The
I
alpha.
think, yeah, exactly. I think Vinny, he did it when against Dortmund when he was his show. I think he continues to do that. I hope Mbappe doesn't miss too many games, and I hope he's back for that final in Qatar, right? Qatar.
Lucille, yep.
Yep. So I would say Vinny Cooks.
Okay. All right, that is another episode in the books. Been a pleasure as always. We will
Yes,
be back
sir.
next week, inshallah, for another episode. We don't get to talk about Champions League for a while, but then we get more league and then the
Yes.
Champions League knockouts, and then we get to talk about the World Cup, which is just around the corner, which is crazy because it feels like we just had the
It's
last one.
crazy.
Yep. So
Crazy.
we will know, I believe, everything by November, but we'll have a very good mark of what the World Cup looks like very soon
It will
because,
be in the summer, right? This time it will be in
yes,
the
it will
summer.
be in the summer.
It wouldn't even be a full 4 years later. It'll just be literally
Three
three
and a
and a half
half.
years. Yeah,
I know.
crazy.
But it's already been 2 years since the World Cup. I believe the final would be like in 2 years exactly in like 3 days.
I need to go back and like watch videos of reactions to that World Cup. Like I will never forget that.
That
What a moment.
final, I will always say, is the best game of any sport I've ever watched.
Absolutely. I will never forget where I was when Mbappe scored that second goal.
Wow, dude, me too.
I was in the back of a van and I was watching the game on my phone, bro. Can you believe that?
How loud did you like? How loud did you get?
I was sick to my stomach because that was when I was doing the whole gimmick of I'm going for France will win, and I was visibly disgusted when he scored.
Dude, I
'Cause I wanted
literally, I
Argentina
think
to
my
win.
family thought I was crazy because I was just, oh my God, man.
Were you watching with people?
I was watching with family.
Oh, I can't
I
watch
was
games like that with people.
screaming, man. I hate Argentina. And not because of Messi, I just don't like them. Like a lot of their
No,
players, I just don't like.
no, I need to relive that moment
That
again. I might.
genuinely, like, if he scored the one where he dribbles around like eight guys to end
Yes, the
regulation,
Diabala kick.
that
Yeah.
genuinely would have been the greatest hate watch like I've ever had ever. Like he would have had 4 goals in the World Cup final. They would have won like the biggest trophy in any sport in the last kick of the game. I would have been like very happy. I would have put my hands up and be like, all right, this sport has peaked. I'm not getting higher than this.
I
But
genuinely think football peaked in that World
it
Cup.
did.
Because the fall of football is still going, but for that tournament alone, bro, everything was
That
was all
tournament
over.
was exceptional. The only thing we were robbed of was of a Argentina Brazil semifinal. But
Yes, that was yeah. But even Brazil, the way they lost, I don't even think it was an incredible showing by Neymar, man. What a way to go
that's a
out.
great
He's an
exit game. But
incredible
I just feel,
baller.
man,
Yeah.
this we were robbed of that semifinal. Like really robbed.
That would have been a real war. That would have been a real battle.
Argentina, Brazil, and then the other side was we could have had France, Portugal. Although the Morocco storyline was amazing, it kind of made the World Cup. So
Morocco cooked. You always need that underdog.
yes, I agree.
But what a World Cup. We
That
have to like
was.
one day maybe a few years from now we'll do like a podcast rewatch of like the entire World
We
Cup.
should.
Like
No, we're going to a game in 26, man. It's here,
well,
so
definitely we'll
one hundred
26,
percent.
bro. I'm ready. Hopefully all of our legends are still there so we can
Dallas
actually
is the final, which is hilarious. Very unserious venue. So
Dallas is Cowboy Stadium?
and Jerry World, yeah. You know
Jerry
he
World.
had a say in it, man.
Oh, you know how much oh my goodness. But no comment on football.
You know
No comment on
on FIFA.
soccer being in the US is gonna be scary, man.
I know.
Something will happen.
I know how mad Ronaldo is that like this is probably his last World Cup, and after it's gonna be in his own country. So,
He will be there. I don't think
bro,
I
he's gonna
don't
be 47, man, in
he will
2030.
be
No,
there.
he will not.
But one way or he will be there.
He'll be coaching, maybe, maybe
No, he will be involved some way, somehow.
he'll be involved in 26. He'll be there for sure.
Yeah. 26 he'll be there
You
for
think
sure.
he'll be starting every game in 26?
If Robert Martinez is still the coach, yes. Yes. Yeah, he will. That guy has no
Authority.
authority.
To be
I
fair,
know.
he is their best striker. Like funny enough, like as many memes as we make about it, like he is their best striker.
No, he's easily good enough to start right now.
Oh yeah.
2026, I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see. That
Uh,
father time is undefeated, so
he's
he
even
needs
looking old now. I don't know if
he
you've
does
seen.
look
Like
old.
actually,
Is he gonna be
Messi.
the
Oh, they were cooking Messi the other day because he took one of those like side profiles, and like he didn't have his full chin because of the beard. Like he just has those inward faces where the chin doesn't really come
Yes,
out.
yes.
And then he had a beard like 2 weeks later, and he was like perfectly fine.
I'm
Um,
forgetting. I don't know how old Roger Miller was when he scored at the World Cup, but it was like 41 or 42. He took him to the semifinals, so
Sheesh.
we'll see.
No,
But
Ronaldo. I don't think Ronaldo's story is finished yet. There's one more
no, I
chance.
think there's some one. Yeah, I agree. I think there's one
I don't know
more
if it's in
hurrah.
Europe or in the World Cup, but there's one more.
I
There's
agree.
a there's a there's a happy ending to this, I think.
I mean, yeah, their squad is exceptional, so you never know.
I just don't like Robert Martinez. I will never forgive him for Belgium ever. So,
It's
but yeah.
true. All right, man. Pleasure as always.
Yes, sir, man. Good talking to you. Good seeing you.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
look
sir.
well. So,
Thank you. You too. We'll be back
thank
next
you.
week,
Thank you.
inshallah. Thanks for listening,
Inshallah.
guys.
Assalamu
All right.
alaikum.
Peace.
Take care, everyone.